Hello, everybody.
Hi.
Hi, we are Courtney and Ob, and we run Dandelion Branding and the Living Brand Directory. And welcome to our podcast called EnvironMental.
This is our podcast where we deep dive into different aspects of sustainability, and then we have open conversations about it. If that type of content is really interesting for you, please like and subscribe because we post these often.
We do. We've been having a little series where we've been interviewing different industry leaders and business owners, and we will continue doing that. We've got a couple in the works.
I'm really excited for our upcoming ones, actually.
Yeah. But this one's a little different.
Yeah, because we're also industry leaders and we never talk about that.
But we do. Yeah, it's true. It's true. We've been doing a whole lot of research. We've been really using EnvironMental as a way for us to just better educate ourselves around these issues so we can have deeper conversations with folks. But also on behind the scenes, we're running a digital marketing agency that works with sustainable brands, and Living Brand Directory is our sustainable brand directory that is also kind of a hub for educating folks around issues around sustainability. So we're doing this every day.
Yep.
But I've never explicitly spoken about the work that we do.
No, we have not.
Here on this platform. So, hey.
What's up? We're going to talk a little bit about sustainable marketing and marketing in general, because both sustainable marketing and marketing as a sustainable brand are really different than your traditional marketing tactic-y world.
Yeah. And we get that question a lot. Almost every time I get on a call with a new potential brand or new potential client, the question immediately is sort of like, okay, what do you do that's different from traditional marketing? Like, what is,
Yeah.
So that's what we're going to address today.
Yeah, because it's important, and also because we realized that we're the people doing, when we started, sustainable marketing wasn't a thing. And I always joke with people that we often get found because sustainable brands are searching for sustainable marketing agencies. And if you Google that, we come up several times on the first page of Google. And I'm always like, we do SEO and we are good at SEO. That's a service that we offer because it's one of the most sustainable marketing things you do. But also, we were the first. That term didn't even exist when we started. We just decided, no, it's important. We need to figure out how to be a sustainable marketing agency and figure out what that means.
And when we decided to kind of niche down like that, I think that the reason we have moved in this direction, is not because sustainability was trendy. This was something that is deeply important to both Ob and I, and we've been on our own journeys learning about sustainability, and it's just kind of environmental justice and social justice is something that we both have felt incredibly strongly about since we were in high school, early youngins. And when we first started as Dandelion, we were working with kind of just brands, we didn't have a niche in particular. And we really felt a disconnect between how much we cared about building really integrated, holistic systems. And if the brands don't really care about what they're doing or the product that they're making, or
they're not connected to their values.
Don't have values.
We were like, so what are your values? What kind of what can we talk transparently about? And they were just like, no, they don't have it. Now we're creating values for the brands we work with. And
Right. And it felt really not good. Like it felt icky and weird. And we're not the type of people to just be like, oh, cool. Like you're selling a product and your audience is everyone who would buy the product. Like, miss us with that.
Yeah, no.
And we knew from the jump, like that it would be, we're different than than the folks that consider themselves to be marketers. And like in 2019 when we first started, we were like, yeah, we know we're going to do this differently. We didn't necessarily have the language around it though at that time.
Yeah, we've had to really develop it because again, it didn't exist, and in a lot of ways it still doesn't.
Yeah.
It's still us talking about your marketing is your brand, it is everything holistically that you have going on, not separate from what you're doing. So we still have to have that conversation a lot. So it's not that common, although it is becoming more common to see people talking about they only work with sustainable brands, or they are like trying to work with people that are making the world a better place. It's still really, really rare also for us to come across other agencies that are working to be sustainable as an agency, to teach like do less, higher quality, is also something that we basically never hear.
There's a very small little group. Yeah. And if you're in the group, hey, shout out. You know, we love you. You know who you are.
You know who you are. Keep on keeping on.
Yeah. And it's been very cool to see that group grow over the years, for sure.
Yeah.
And to be, considered somewhat a part of that is an honor. It's awesome.
Yeah, Courtney got recognized in a group at the 1% for Planet conference.
I did.
I think that's really exciting.
It was wild. Yeah. Yeah. To just connect with people who like are your audience on social media in real life. I mean, that's not an experience that I've ever really had before. I've never had a platform that had any sort of following, and our following is not huge, but like,
no. Small and mighty.
Yeah, to get recognized. My goodness, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. Yes, yeah, it was very, very cool, and it was very nice to meet you, Michelle. Hi. It was very cool. Yeah, the community is growing, and it is it's awesome to be a part of, but unfortunately though, because the people who are doing what we do in a sustainable way are so few and far between, there's a lot of nonsense still in the industry.
Yeah, marketing is an unregulated industry.
Yeah, crazy. It's yeah.
I don't want to like, almost all of our clients have really gnarly horror stories around the marketers that they've worked with. Marketers. Yeah, partially because they're unregulated and people will just say literally anything to get your money. And I think partially because typical marketers really don't understand sustainable audiences or put a whole lot of weight into audience experience or customer experience, or how important voice and like cohesion is across a brand. And those things are extremely important for sustainable brands.
Yeah, we have heard a lot of horror stories, and it's often just people who are marketers who maybe know, like, they've got kind of a one-track mind, right? Like they know one thing, and perhaps they do that one thing well, but like then the business owner is left kind of, things fall out of balance almost immediately. And that's the time and time again, we've heard that story. And it is really unfortunate, but it's also kind of like, man, it's reaffirming in a way, like why we build structures the way that we build them, and why we feel like, operating your marketing holistically is the only way to go. Like that gets reaffirmed in my brain almost every day.
Like every time.
I think every day.
Every day. Like, me too.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I think one really good example that we've seen a few times, well, there's a couple, but I think the one we see a lot is both with SEO and with ads. I think it's easier to talk about it with ads because people are just shoveling money into ads, because that is I guess typical way to go.
Yeah.
Is that the way to,
Yeah, you'd think that if you are trying to get, I think it's just like the easiest, it's like the quickest solution that folks get to when they think of, they want to like expand their audience, they want to grow. The ads are, paid advertising is typically the first thing that kind of shows up of like how to grow your business.
There's a time and place for ads, and it's not really at the very beginning of being a business. I don't think.
No, unless you have a very strong source of endless income.
If you got hella investments going on and capital to throw at it, hell yeah, ads. But in general, for a sustainable audience, like, they don't make impulse buys. So they're actively working on conscious consumerism. And as a sustainable brand, if you're not greenwashing, you're talking about conscious consumerism in a way of like, choose quality over quantity. And that message doesn't pair well with impulse buying, which is what ads do.
Yeah.
So you really need to create a whole structure. If you're using ads, you need to create a structure around how to get people to learn who you are and trust you, which is where holistic marketing, it just immediately comes in. Content marketing. How do you get people to trust you? Well, your site needs to be set up right. Your blog can't be empty. Your organic social medias can't be empty. Your face needs to be available. Your values need to be transparent and understood. Like, all of these things are extremely important for sustainable brands, for any brand, but in particular for brands that want to pull in sustainable audiences.
Totally. And if you're missing any of those aspects, like if you just don't show up for your audience, like if you're not posting on social but you're like, running a bunch of ads, so they see paid promos from you, but don't ever hear from you in any other way, that definitely comes across as greenwashy.
Yeah, that's a red flag.
Huge red flag. And audiences are getting way more savvy, but at the same time, so are brands, and brands that are trying to greenwash.
Yeah. Brands that have money that are greenwashing are getting really good at it. H&M, I just had this whole conversation about like the H&M greenwashing situation. It's still really fucking bad, y'all. No, they're not safe to buy from. That is shitty. But their greenwashing is so on point. Like,
they know all the right words to say.
Yeah.
They know how to say it. They know how to twist some figures around to make it seem like they're having any sort of positive impact. But like, you cannot be creating things at that price point and that capacity in a sustainable way.
No, you can't.
Just like, that's a no.
No. It also just kind of, it goes against sustainable values.
Yeah.
But they're really good at using language to make everybody feel better about buying their clothing,
Right.
and really good at greenwashing. And they're only going to get more sophisticated as we push. Eventually, maybe they'll just start being more sustainable. Like at what point does bullshit run out with greenwashing? I don't know. We haven't found that line yet.
I mean, until there's transparency in their workers' wages, until there's transparency into where things are actually sourced from, like from beginning to end, no words can make up for the lack of transparency, I suppose, in all of that.
Right.
And that's the biggest thing, that like you can't just fall for those buzzwords. Like we have to be more critical consumers. But it's also then the flip side of that is that brands that actually do care about sustainability and are working towards things, like kind of don't know how to communicate it. Like it's hard to accurately communicate about what you care about when we're so afraid of potentially greenwashing, when we want to say the right things because we don't want to like get friggin' canceled by people who are, you know, hunting for brands that are making claims that can't be backed.
Yeah.
It's a tough world
out
there. Yeah.
It is a really tough cycle. This is the green hush, which that's a term I just learned the other day. It's cool that like it has a name and is a thing now. Like it's something we've been seeing a lot just because we work with brands and we work with sustainable brands that don't really know how to communicate, and it's our job to help them communicate. Like we are the experts, we are the professionals that people invest in to say this is the language to use around the transparent values that you have, and this is how to showcase those. And we really often go to websites of sustainable brands and we're like, this gives me greenwashing red flags, and I know the owner, and we know them. We know the lengths that y'all go to create sustainable, handmade, beautiful works of art with every single product that you have. And we're still looking at your website going, these are greenwashing red flags.
Right.
And that's like kind of the green hush world, because you're not putting the time and energy into transparently communicating because you don't know how.
Yeah. Or it seems like it's not interesting to people, like all of the work that goes on behind the scenes, or like all of the, you know, hours that you've put into finding the proper sourcing, or, you know, that you are making things by hand, and maybe you're self-conscious about that because you actually want to consider yourself not a little like DIY brand. You want to be something bigger, but like God, like that is like you're really putting such an intense limit on yourself and your brand by not sharing that stuff.
Yeah. And sharing it proudly. And sharing, I think I find most refreshing around the conversations we have with brand owners is when they know, because they all know what I'm doing right and what I could do better. And they know, and if you ask them like personally, they'll talk to you about it for an hour, and it's like, why isn't that on your site? Can we like have a real conversation about how to communicate that transparently on your website? Right. Even if it's just like a letter from the founder that lives in your footer or lives on your nav bar or in your about down, what is that called? Your down caret is the only words I can think of.
Sub navigation menu, I think.
Yeah.
A sub menu of an
Yeah.
down carrot.
Down carrot, what the fuck?
It works. We know
Hey,
what
that's
we're
not
talking
my
about,
name.
trust us. No. It's true though. But like so much of that is rooted in kind of like self-consciousness. Like you don't know, because you don't feel like it's like done yet. You don't feel like you're at a point where you can be like, I am a sustainable brand because of XYZ. But it's like there isn't really a line that you're ever going to get to. Like no one's ever going to be like, all of a sudden, now's the day. You did it. You're a sustainable brand
Perfect.
now. You're part of the crew. Like there's no
You did that.
initiation.
No.
It's it's just about communicating what you care about, what you've done, and what you hope to do. And if you have goals, oh,
Even
you're
better.
there.
Oh my
You're
God.
there. You're at the line. You're initiated.
Yeah, right.
Like,
Really, you have sustainability goals, and you can like maybe put a timeline on it for yourself. Maybe like get really specific. Maybe by the end of this year, you want plastic to be totally out of your packaging. Like, welcome to the sustainability club, my friend.
totally.
Thank you for communicating that. And the more you communicate about what you're doing and what you want to do better, the less greenwashing, the less you'll be perceived as greenwashing, not more.
And that's such a human thing, right? Like humans want the people that they surround themselves with, like, to be open about their non imperfections. Like there is no perfect sustainability. It doesn't exist. Like all of us are still existing in this world, using resources, have a carbon footprint.
It can't exist. It can't exist because you physically are there.
Taking up resources.
You're taking up space. You cannot simultaneously be a feminist taking up space and also be not taking up any space as a sustainable brand. It doesn't work, guys. Like it's never going to be perfect.
Yeah.
Those are my two values that are like at odds from each other at all times.
Take up space, but not resources.
Except for like not a lot. Except for your footprint needs to be very small.
It's funny.
Stiletto footprint, lots of space.
Yes. Stiletto footprint, Birkenstock values, though.
Shoe episode. Welcome to the shoe episode.
It's true, though. Gosh, that's real. That is very real. And I feel like everything that is like a point of potential like self-consciousness in a brand, that's something that like would fall under like the green hush, like that they don't really want to talk about. If you actually just owned it and talked about it, like your ability to connect with your audience and for your audience to see your brand as human, as like down to earth and grounded and real, skyrockets, man. Like that's such an incredible point of potential connection that you're just missing because you're afraid. That's
the shit.
Yeah.
That's the juice. That's what you want. That's where we like to live, is like, what do you feel self-conscious about? Because I want to squeeze all of that goodness out. Like, because those places that we feel self-conscious about are the places that people in our audiences and people that like want to love you, like that's the piece that they're going to understand the best. That's where they're like, I totally relate to that. I'm totally down to like be asking about, is my packaging have a little too much white paper in it? Like it's virgin paper. Like I want to hear about that. I want to hear about like the goal to change it. It's that's where the sustainable audience lives and where their differences live. And we do a lot of work around creating audience profiles and what that looks like. And a lot of what goes into creating an audience profile is understanding what people are self-conscious about and what they value the most, and then creating kind of a brand language around the different audience profiles that really touch on those like things that make you like cringe or that keep you up at night, because that's what people remember. That feeling is what people remember. And when you share that as a brand and talk about that openly and kind of like, you know, peek back behind that curtain of people, like they feel seen and heard and understood, and they want to show up for you because they feel like you're showing up for them.
100%.
Yeah. I mean, that's like so much of what we do is like about that.
Yeah. But it's a lot of like unlearning, though. It is like when we have to definitely like allow our clients, we have to almost give them permission to like, well, we don't have to give them, but it's almost like many need permission to show up in that way, in that imperfect space. And but once you're there, like sharing becomes a lot easier, and it just kind of snowballs from there, and your ability to talk about your values, to talk about your goals, and it's just kind of a beautiful thing. But
and to talk about them over and over again. That's another. Who were we just talking to about that? I don't know.
Yeah, one of our clients. We're doing some email campaigns.
You're gonna get annoyed at hearing your own damn message.
Yes. Yeah.
Good.
Repetition is very important, but it can feel weird. We even have this feeling like when we first started, like, wow, okay, we're talking about content marketing again. Like people don't know it yet.
Why are you listening?
But that's the thing. You got to show up. If that's what you do, whatever it is that you do or sell, like every day you're showing up, you're talking about it, you're giving the spiel.
What's that like trending sound? You got to show up if you want to. I don't know. I'm not very good at trending sounds, but
I don't know. We have such different algorithms. You and I. You gotta do it.
I'm gonna find it and I'll make a reel about it and I'll post it on Dandelion Branding.
Stay tuned. Follow us at Dandelion _branding.
Yep. And also at The Living Brand, at The Living Brand.
On Twitter.
Yes. On Twitter. We have a lot of social media outlets.
We do. We do. All have slightly different purposes. Yes.
Yeah. So let's talk about like actionable ways to be sustainable with your marketing. Or I guess it's like there's two sides. We should introduce it like this. There's two sides to sustainable marketing. And like we often get asked about like, what does it mean? One of them is like actually doing sustainable things, like doing marketing sustainably, which we'll give like some ways for that. And the other one is sustainable in like the literal sense that it is sustainable for you. It's sustainable for your team. You can like, it's something you can maintain and keep going. That is so crucial and important. And it is something that I think is missed all the time.
Let's go deal with our pets.
You paused it.
I did.
We're back.
We're back. Both of our pets were acting. They just wanted to make appearances. On the audio.
They like fully agree.
That
that being sustainable and being able to like maintain and stay consistent with your marketing is the most important thing.
And that's why I love the word sustainable marketing so much, because it does mean both things, and everything that we do is all about both of those things.
Yep.
So it's kind of the most perfect word that we could have chosen and found, have come across
Yeah.
to describe.
Yeah, it took a while to be like, what is the right word? And first we were like a little afraid to use the word sustainable
Yeah.
because we didn't know how to like we didn't know how to define it. And then we were like, let's just use both. Let's do both things. Let's like it's
Mm-hmm.
important. I think we were a little scared at the vastness of the meaning of the word
Yeah.
sustainable, and
Yeah.
we embraced it, and now that's what we do, and I think it's awesome.
I think we were feeling the way that a lot of business owners feel about, committing to using that term, which is we're definitely fitting in that green hush zone of like,
Mm-hmm.
do we address this? Do we actually take this stance? It's scary to take a stance as
It's
bold as
scary to take a
that.
stand. Yeah,
Yeah.
for sure.
But it was the best thing that we could have ever done for our business.
I think for our business and also for ourselves, because now
Yeah.
we get to do such cool shit. Like we get to talk to like the coolest people. I mean, we do operate two businesses and that's a lot. Plus one of them being a client business, like that's a lot. But they're so cool.
Yeah.
They're so
Yeah.
cool.
Yeah, to just be able to speak to people who are doing such innovative, cool things and that care so deeply about their work. It's just, yeah, it's a beautiful relationship that we're able to build with a lot of our clients, and it's really exciting to just kind of be a part of the of building a better future, man. Yeah.
Yeah. We always say that it's part of our mission to like embed sustainability deeper into conversations, global
Mm-hmm.
conversations that are just mainstream regular conversations. You just like we help brands tell their audiences really cool stuff about sustainability. Sweet.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. But yeah, as a digital marketing agency, we do often get asked like, okay, well, like, what are actual sustainable marketing ideas? Like, how can you actually market more sustainably?
Yeah.
And that's definitely been something that we're like still learning about and still working on.
Yeah. And it,
But
and it,
yeah.
it hasn't because it's a relatively new way to think about literally everything. Like every industry is asking the question, what does the sustainable version of this look like?
Mm-hmm.
Marketing's not different.
Mm-hmm.
Um, so we talked to Toby with Zero Bees. That's another episode which you should definitely go watch because Toby is awesome. Uh, he gave us some insight, and I also talked to him separately about this, um, and how where sustainability really plays a role in terms of like digital consumership. I don't think that's a word, but
Ism. Yeah.
it makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and he said it really comes down to energy consumption. And it's very, very difficult to get facts and figures around like how much energy does a Google search take? Partially because it's very location based. Like, so the energy consumption of sending a data packet from a server to a server, like if I make a Google search about something local in California, that those server like there's energy between getting it to a server over here, but then also energy to getting it in my phone and my phone or my computer. And those devices take up different levels of energy themselves. So, and there's an energy usage, yeah, server to server and also server to device. And with Bluetooth, we're looking at the Internet of Things. Now you're talking about device to device. And, you know, so one of the best ways to be more sustainable in general online is to not just make a million random Google searches, is to really
Mm-hmm.
think about the amount of energy that you're using when you're searching online or like streaming websites are one of the heaviest, most energy consumptive things we can do is just like and I am super guilty of being like I love streaming video. Courtney, I think you also use a lot of YouTube. Like that is one of the most I guess energy intensive things we can do is stream video. So and I thought that was really interesting to talk to Toby. Like, how do I curb my addiction to asking Google random questions?
I mean,
like,
there's a to some extent, though. I want to I think it's important to say that we all still need to exist, and the energy usage of 10 or 100 Google searches is
so minimal.
Nah, in the grander scheme of things, we shouldn't be policing people's Google searches.
Yeah, agreed.
But if you on a personal level are looking to reduce your own carbon footprint for anything, then that there are ways in which you can
that's one of
you have to be conscious of all of the steps. Because everything really does have a footprint. Everything.
A physical carbon cost is real for everything. As a business owner, one of the best things you can do is optimize your website for your search engines, which is why I said all of that about Google. Because how much bullshit do you get when you make a Google search that does not answer your question? A lot. A lot of times if you're searching for something, you have to scroll. And and optimizing your site helps decrease unqualified traffic to your website. So yeah, it might decrease traffic overall, but it's traffic that you don't want anyway. And it increases better targeted traffic. So people have to make less Google searches to find the answers to their questions, and you're not taking up people's valuable time and space by offering answers to questions they're not actually asking. So SEO is one of the best ways to be sustainable with your marketing. It also is really, really great to increase your organic traffic, and organic traffic can often be one of the highest converting traffics to get to your website.
Totally.
Investing in SEO is a big one.
Yeah. And starting that process will really uncover a lot of things that you can better optimize on your site. Removing older pages, removing outdated information, repurposing things, keep what you want to keep. And of course, you can update things to make it better, but it also gives you an opportunity to kind of take a look at all the things that you've put out there, which a lot of business owners don't do. They have hundreds and hundreds of pages on their site, don't actively really look at them. They had one purpose for one period of time, and then they just kind of sit and exist and take up space and resources.
Yeah. And look, I think we're guilty of this.
Our website is big. Our website is very big. Yeah.
We've tried a lot of stuff. We do a lot of testing. And our website is big, and that's something that we want to work on. But repurposing content, you said that, but for me, that is so damn helpful. Not only does it give you more time because you don't have to create a whole new thing, but it also helps decrease your footprint overall because you're not creating something new that's essentially the same thing. If you can repurpose a blog article and put it up top again and then talk about it again, awesome. You can also make it better and fit your audience more. This is something that we do on a very consistent basis. I don't know if I've necessarily written a new blog article in
a minute,
maybe a year.
Yeah.
But we're on a constant, we want our site to get better and to be Like we have some really good blog articles that are old, but they just don't necessarily like fit with exactly who we want to call in anymore. So we update the SEO, we repurpose the content and use the link. Also, because it's an older link and we're updating it, don't change the link itself, but because we're updating the content, Google likes that more than a totally new post. It has more authority. So repurposing content is like fantastic for you.
Yeah, that is a very, very sustainable way to kind of keep communicating regularly with your audience. If you're feeling like you can't, come up with something entirely new, it also hits on that repetition thing again. You're kind of coming back to re-talk about a topic. You maybe have better insight on it. Yeah.
Fantastic. Especially as you grow, we're business owners ourselves. Like when you start, you kind of throw a lot of spaghetti against the wall.
Yes.
And as you get like deeper into your own brand voice, your own brand guidelines, you get so much better at communicating about what you do and what you care about and what matters for your brand. Repurposing old content is just updating it to fit that information about yourself. I'm a huge fan.
Yep. Yeah. It's it is a tough process to like sit down and kind of look at all of the pages on your site and like, cut some from the team, sometimes you're like, it does,
because every page is such a labor of love.
But we definitely, when we were first starting out, like we were not as conscious of like image size, which is definitely a big resource black hole. It's also a page speed black hole for sure. That was something that we were not as aware of, when we were first getting started. So yeah, being able to update those pages or remove them entirely can make a really big difference. And that's definitely something that is a kind of an easy fix.
Updating image size is a really good one. Yeah. I always think about increasing the speed of a website, like the actual speed of a site. It's important. It's less important now than it was 2 years ago when everybody was like, oh my God, your site has to be so fast. I think people have sort of like mellowed out on site speed in general, but I do think that paying attention to your site speed in terms of how big it is, because it is if your site loads really slowly, it's an indication that there's something there that's too big, or there's something going on that maybe a plugin needs to be updated, or something that like can really slow down and weigh down your site. And remember, the weight of your site, how much stuff you have, how long it takes to load, all of that is energy cost, and that energy cost increases your carbon footprint overall. If your site's slow and you have 10,000 visitors, all of a sudden those 10,000 visitors have a larger footprint that you could change because your speed could be faster. The size of your site could be smaller in some way. So it's just that's something to like think about.
Yeah. It's all a work in progress. You can take your time, but yeah, it's worth taking a look at sometime in the next quarter. How about that? That's a good goal for you.
It's a good quarter. Yeah, that's a good quarterly goal. Is to take a look at pages you don't need. Start there. Another one is to choose a host or a server that operates sustainably. That we use SiteGround. They have servers all over the world, so things have to travel shorter distances, and their energy is, I think, mostly wind energy, or is it?
I believe so. Yeah. I think that they also kind of like share server space. And but it's renewable energy that they are using.
Yeah, they use 100% renewable, but I can't remember if it's wind or electric, but I think it's wind.
I think so too.
Yeah, they're great. There's another one I just learned about, green guys or something similar to that. I can tell
Green
you really
guys. Oh, green geeks?
Yeah.
Fast, secure, eco-friendly hosting. Just Googled that. Have not vetted them, but interesting.
Green Geeks. I did vet them. I looked
cool.
really deeply into their site. Yeah, because one of our clients has it on the bottom. This website is carbon neutral. And I was like, what are they using? I want to know more about that. So I looked closer at Green Geeks. And I really like what they're doing. They the one thing is I'm always a little leery when someone's like, we plant trees. That's not an answer. It is a good thing to do though. So I'm not anti-tree planting, but I always am like, is that all you're doing? It's not. Green Geeks is pretty good as far as hosts, but from what I can tell. So yeah, those two are great. SiteGround and Green Geeks. And I think that might make a bigger difference than a lot of other things, is like having a green server host and just kind of that also puts your mind and energy into a larger scope, because if more people were to move or demand that their host was using renewable energies, like that's one of those things that can make a big difference really quickly. Yeah, definitely. GoDaddy is not a sustainable host, in case you're wondering.
No. And it's typically not like too tedious of a process, like switching hosts. There are some technical things you got to do when it comes to like your domain name server and kind of migrating process, which can be a semi-scary process, totally, if you're unfamiliar with it. But typically it's a pretty seamless process.
It is. Yeah. And I don't know about Green Geeks customer support, but SiteGround's customer support is like top notch. Shout out to SiteGround. Thank you so much for being available and being so helpful. Legitimately helpful. I love it when customer support is legitimately just helpful and lovely.
Yes, should be more common than it is, but
yeah. But SiteGround, they got that on lock. So if you ever have any questions about your server, your host, anything, they answer you. They listen to the question that you're asking and answer it. It's really all you need from customer support, but like they're doing a good job.
Yeah. So that's those are definitely some really good ways for your like digital footprint. There's also a site that's called websitecarbon.com.
Yeah.
You can put in your URL or any URL, and they give like a breakdown of kind of where you're ranking in terms of your site. How much CO2 is being produced every time someone visits it.
Yeah.
How it's running, all of your visitors, and like kind of the equivalents. It's a really, really, really cool website. We'll definitely link that. I really like that and definitely have used that resource quite a bit. And it's to actually like what's kind of helped us to realize that there are a lot of things that we could be doing on our own site that
totally
be doing better.
Yeah, that really started the conversation about like, I think we need to get rid of our pages from our like old course. Same thing with our email lists. We didn't even talk about email, but it's the same. There's a lot going on in there. It's really easy, especially if you run live courses or live classes, that your lists just get longer and longer, heavier and heavier. So clearing out your email list in the back end is really good. also feels really good. Like I don't know, we're marketers, so like we're always in those back end spaces. So maybe it just feels more organized, and my brain really likes organization, but yeah, feel better.
I think, yeah, it's kind of the same thing as like clearing out your closet or something. It's like out with the old, in with the new. Like let's wear or like let's
Mm-hmm.
talk to the people who are actively engaged. Let's get rid of
Yep.
folks that are not, interacting with our brand or with our emails. Some people even do this for like their followers on social media. It's not something we've ever explicitly done, but I think that it's interesting, like to kind of just like get rid of like bots and stuff. I don't really know how I like to tell, but yeah, it's definitely a practice that's worth doing.
Yeah. Adding a little like goal for yourself, clear
Yeah.
your pages, look at your plugin,
Mm-hmm.
maybe start thinking about SEO.
Yep. Uh,
Stop posting every day. We just are literally giving you the permission. You don't need to post a bunch of times a day. You can post a few times a week. Um, as long as you're doing quality over quantity and it feels right and sustainable for you, you do not need to follow the like marketing tropes of more is more. It is
no,
not. It is also not
more
sustainable,
isn't
and your
more.
audiences don't care about more is more. Not a for a sustainable brand like
Mm-mm. 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 And like, I mean, you don't even like see them. Like the algorithm doesn't even show your posts to people
mm,
more frequently. Like stories, okay. Like show, if you make a lot of Instagram stories in a
they're great.
day,
They go
okay,
away. Hmm.
cool, yeah. But like actual feed posts and stuff like that, yeah, that is not necessary. It just doesn't translate to anything that
Yeah.
actually tangibly matters when running business.
Mm-mm.
It really doesn't.
Mm-mm. It's nice though. I think like my current favorite scheme for people is like an every other day post where like every third one is a reel, and then like maybe like off days do stories, or like do a stories as often as you whatever as you feel like it, because for Instagram in particular, like you're saying, you don't see feed posts in order, so it doesn't matter. But what is really interesting is that reels tend to bring in engagement from people who don't follow you, so they can like increase your engagement and increase your reach altogether, which is great. But what that does is it tells the algorithm that your shit is interesting when it comes to your feed posts. And then your feed posts get seen by the people who are following you. And the higher reach that your feed posts get, the more likely people are to visit your profile and then also to click the link in your bio, which is the only point of Instagram, is that link in bio. Click maybe some like community love. Um, but that as of
Yeah.
March of 2022, a regular reel, a couple of feed posts,
Mm-hmm.
you're golden.
It's good structure. Yeah.
Yeah, the algo loves it. And
Mm-hmm.
stories are a great way to communicate with people that already follow you. So they get increased engagement of people who already follow you.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that a lot of business owners can essentially treat TikTok in kind of the same way of like,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you can make kind of some longer-ish form videos if you want to, higher quality things that are something like a reel, but you can also totally use it almost like Instagram stories as well. And that is something that is very cool, definitely working for business owners on TikTok right now. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And it is way easier than forcing yourself to post 45 times a month, which we've done, and it sucks.
Mm-hmm.
Remember, we were testing that. We were testing, does posting more than once a day actually increase reach, visits, whatever. It really doesn't. Like there's a sweet spot. Every brand's a little different. There's a sweet spot there, but like your sweet spot is when you make the best content, when you make the highest quality is really what it is.
Yeah.
Yep.
Those are tips, man. Yeah. It's
I think that's all the things that
it's all very doable though, and really all of that, and it's not like any of those are particularly challenging to do, but they do take a bit of time, and you just kind of have to dedicate time and be realistic with your time.
Yeah, it is unlearning. It's like I'm gonna tell you to pull time away from creating content to put it into creating less but better content. Or you know what I mean? Like you have to shift. It's a shift more of what you're focused on, more so than it is adding more time or more stuff to your to-do list at all.
Yeah.
And I think like that can scare people because you're relearning what marketing actually looks like, and you're taking a look at like what do people actually what does quality mean? Like it could be that you spend 4 hours putting time and energy into like a very long form post, but your it's wrong for your audience.
Yeah.
That's 100% possible.
Yeah. So yeah, it definitely takes testing always, and like yeah, you could also, think something is going to perform really, really well, and it might not at all. And like there are just
vice
sometimes
versa.
Totally. And yeah, social media is odd in that way where you kind of never know how folks are going to interpret something or what's going to get picked up by the algorithm and take off. You really don't know. So we encourage you to do a variety of different things, but be conscious of what you're kind of testing out, and give things due enough time where you're consistently making those types of things so that you can really get good data on what's working and what's not working, and you're not just making knee-jerk reactions.
And if you're that's a really good one. And if you are like if you're really interested in testing your timing, this is something that I'm kind of looking at right now, and I'm going to be looking at it more, is like, just to go back to the like reels example. If you post a reel on Tuesday and then on Thursday you have a feed post, how does that feed post do? Does it do better than the like next feed post? Because it's really possible that you got a bunch of engagement on the Tuesday reel, and then the Thursday feed post is shown more because of the engagement on the reel before. So, and that's a huge part of the algorithm that is very difficult to decode, but something that like I've been really thinking about. And it started with noticing some trends in Facebook that like people post, like there's no rhyme or reason as like why this did better, but then you realize like no, because it's because of what the algorithm is showing, and the algorithm is showing things based on engagement, and it's got its own
a ripple effect kind of like
so like I want to see what does that ripple effect, like how does that ripple effect work, if it works at all, like if that's something you can even like that is. And I think like that's something that we need to like look at and test a little more. And
there's no one answer though. There's like, that's not black and white. Like there's no promise that your next post after a highly engaged post is going to also have high reach. Like there isn't a one-to-one connection, but like,
but it might.
It can, yeah.
That trend might be that might be a trend. So maybe it doesn't happen every time, but like it might happen more often than not. So then now let's be strategic about like, here's a reel. What do we want people to see? Something purchasable.
Yeah.
You know, like, so you're making less content, but it really involves a lot more of that type of strategic thinking when it comes to sustainable marketing and holistic marketing.
Yep. 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 Yeah. And you've got to also be okay with some posts, with knowing that some posts are not going to do as well as others. Like if you're posting like, you know, memes and reels that are getting a ton of engagement, but you're also trying to sell a product or service, like your social media should be a tool to sell that product or service. So like you kind of can't just be creating content to hope to go like viral all the time. Like you still have to talk about what you'd like to sell. And so like, yeah, that's something that to just kind of also be okay with, that like it ebbs and flows, and you're going to have some that perform better more frequently than others, but like ultimately you kind of can't stop talking about your products and services just because those posts might not do as well.
Yep.
Anyways, we could get into the details.
We literally so
it's really interesting though, but yeah.
I mean, is it interesting, or do we think it's interesting? I don't know. I don't care either.
It's real.
You know, it's really funny because usually we have a guest and then we can kind of like stop them and like, you know, steer the conversation. But when it's just us, we can just talk about marketing forever.
100%. Yeah. All day long. But yeah, I mean, we hope that you got something out of these tips for how you can market in a more sustainable way, and in both definitions of sustainable.
Yep. And we hope that helps just in general with you thinking about like the way that you're putting out content, and that it's okay to not be perfect, and there isn't a perfect brand out there, and like communicating what you are doing is not greenwashing. Communicating what you want to do better is not greenwashing.
Mm-hmm.
Talking to your audience and being honest about where you're at in your journey is the best way to connect with them.
Yeah. Yep. Those are our takeaways.
Thank you guys.
Yes. Thank you so much for watching and for being part of our community in any way.
I appreciate you.
And yeah, stay tuned for the next episode, which we will likely have a guest on. If you are interested in potentially being a guest, feel free to reach out. You can reach us both, info@dandelionbranding.com. Send us over an email, write us a comment here on YouTube, wherever it is that you may be.
Yeah, we want to talk to you about your sustainable journey and your industry and whatever that looks like for you. That's important.
Everybody's got a story, and we want to hear it. We want you to tell it. So, yeah.